Welcome back, MTG Joe here. Today we are going to look at the weekly metagame breakdown, specifically for the historic best of one format after Edge of Eternities. We got the bonus sheet with a bunch of lands, most notably Eldrazi Temple, which is legal here, which is really the one that's going to be shaping up the format the most. Ancient Tomb, Strip Mine are not legal here, so we don't get those cards in this format, but Eldrazi is the big winner of the weekend and just kind of popping up. A lot of the metagame challenge, from what I've been seeing, is heavily skewed Sorin and Eldrazi, but it's not just Simic Eldrazi. There's a few different ways that it can be built, so we're actually going to feature 4 different builds to start off with to kind of give you a feel of what the meta looks like in terms of the various ways you can build Eldrazi. Then we'll take a look at some of the other decks. It's still a little bit early. I'm getting a lot of noise. There's some pretty bad decks that are showing up. I think it's just because we're still in the first few days of the month. We have to go to Platinum rank, and Platinum rank Historic is the Wild West. You'll have the most cutthroat tier 1 decks, and then mono white life gain with a bunch of 4 drops and 19 lands. But it is what it is. We're going to take a look. We're getting the data from UntapGG, companion tool that runs alongside Arena's client. If you want to use Untap, link is in the video description. All the deck lists will be in the video description as well as being timestamped. And while you're there, make sure to hit that subscribe button. We're trying to hit 20,000 by the end of the summer. We're almost there. We're like 1,500, less than 1,500 away. So free, easy, helps out. Greatly appreciate it if you can. So let's jump in. What's the meta look like? Platinum and Mythic. Gruul Eldrazi, most played deck, 12.8 or 12.7. Mono white life gain, 7%. Not really a deck, but when you kind of get higher than that. Same with like mono green elves. It's one of the decks that people gravitate towards. They like playing it, but at the higher levels, it typically doesn't do the best in terms of win rate. Boros Energy, there's a stock list that we featured a couple weeks ago, or for a couple weeks, but there's a new version that's popping up that's kind of teched to try to beat the Eldrazi deck, so we'll feature that one there. Simic Eldrazi, 4.8. Then we have Auras 4, Wizards 4, Mono Black Discard, which again, deck that doesn't really see much play beyond kind of the earlier stages. But we see a drop. Somehow Mono White Life Gain was the most played deck early in the year, this season, but Eldrazi coming out of nowhere to just kind of take the top spot. Everything else kind of settled. So like I said, we're looking 35 game cap just to get a wider range, 33,000 games. So I'm going to start off. So the Simic Eldrazi is the highest win rate deck, and then I'm going to roll into the other decks themselves that are Eldrazi just for comparison purposes. It's easier to show. So Simic Eldrazi, 75%. Notable thing here, and we're going to cover it with all the other decks, is Eldrazi Temple. This is the big card here. So 1 mana, colorless, fine. But it's a soul land, so meaning it produces 2 colorless mana that can only be used to cast Eldrazi spells or activate Eldrazi abilities. So this, combined with Uggin's Labyrinth, gives you 8 sources to produce 2 mana for 1 land, which is really strong. Now, notably, it's Eldrazi spells. So Kozilek's Command is a kindred or tribal enchantment, or instant in this case, and it's Eldrazi. So this can be used off the Eldrazi Temple as well, which is nice. So with this version here, you're playing Thought-Knot Seer. It's a little bit chunkier version. It's like more mid-rangey. Thought-Knot Seer can be cast as early as turn 2. It's kind of a Thoughtseize style effect. So in Myco Spawn as early as turn 2. Again, another card that's powerful to kind of ramp you ahead, get you more temples. You'll notice a kind of hodgepodge of utility lands, Cavern of Souls, Hedge Maze for Surveil, Shifting Woodlands to kind of reanimate. You'll sometimes see things like Blast Zone. I've seen some decks do. In Best of One, it might even be worth it to play Bojuka Bog, just as a tutorable spell against some of the graveyard combo decks. Null Drifter refills your hand in this one. This one you're going up to Ugin, 1 Emrakul. Devour helps set up your early draws. And then you'll notice a Karn here that allows you to have access to your Karn board. So taxing effects against any deck that's playing low curve, wanting to cast multiple spells per turn, even against control. Card advantage at a 1 ring. Anything with ETBs, you have Torpor Orb. Liquid Metal Coating can blow up lands with Karn. Shut off activated abilities. Needle for like Sorin, stuff like that. Artifact Enchantment Hate with Haywire Might. And Tormund's Crypt for Graveyard Hate. So there we go to Gruul Eldrazi. So this is the aggro build of it, 74%. So this one here, we still have the Eldrazi Temple. You're playing Corpulsant Forest as another way to produce colored lands that also is colorless. And then we have Secluded Courtyard as well as Unclaimed Territory. Both ways to name Eldrazi, gives you colorless, but then allows you to cast your colored Eldrazi spells, which is kind of cool. You also have Gemstone Caverns. So this is another way, turn 0 to put a land into play if you are the second player. Or if you're open hand, you're not the starting player, enters with a luck counter, you basically pitch a card from your hand and you get it into play. So it's another way to kind of ramp up ahead. This version here really takes advantage of the Eldrazi Temple with 2 drops. So It That Heralds basically becomes a 1 drop in this deck when you think about it because of the Eldrazi Temple. This reduces your 7 drops, so even further ability to kind of cast these ahead of curve. It's also a Lord for your colorless creatures, which also works with your various Eldrazi Scion or Spawn tokens. So they become 1/2s now. The Wastegate Battle Mage is a really flexible card, 2 mana, 2/2. So Grizzly Bear, but you can kick it, and then it either exiles artifact or enchantment, or can bounce something to your opponent's hand, or do both. Fleshraker is a very strong card played in like the legacy versions of the deck as well. So 3 mana, 2/2, but with this deck you can cast it out on turn 2. And then whenever you cast a colorless spell, you get an Eldrazi Scion, and then whenever another colorless spell enters or creature enters the battlefield, you ping your opponent. Eldrazi Linebreaker, so this is where we start getting the aggro elements of the deck. So you have this, it's at your combat, target creature gets +X, where X and haste, where X is the number of Eldrazi you control. So this could just become a very big kind of fireball-esque creature, just push through a whole bunch of damage with the trample. One cool thing is Kozilek's Command. If you just do a big command with Fleshraker out, just pings your opponent for a bunch of damage, so it's like an instant speed Banefire. We have the Mycospawn, we have the Thoughts Not Seer, we have 1 Rithing Chrysalis, Modern Horizon 3 Limited All-Star, one of the best cards for draft. Then we have Devourer of Destiny, 1 Null Drifter in here, and then Sire of the 7 Deaths. Most of the lists aren't playing Null Drifter, they're playing the full set of Sires. This might just be a concession to not having the wild card. So something to consider there. So there's this mono green version by Sololas. They went 21-6 into 33 Mythic with it. So similar concept, a little bit bigger. So we have now the Sowing Mycospawns as well as the World Breakers as ways to exile artifacts, enchantments, lands. So a lot of ways to blow up lands here. You have your Mind Stones, your Utopia Sprawls, and your Malavents all as ramp. Your Karn package, 1 Sire, Ugins, and then Emeralds. This one's just plain green, but we see Bajuka Bog, Ghost Quarter, Sanctum of Ugin is a nice card to tutor. When you cast a 7-drop, you can sack it and then search for more colorless cards. So it's a tutorable land in the deck that can then help you tutor for more spells. And then the Karn package that we've seen in the past deck. And then lastly, so this one here, this one's from Alth MTG. You're going to see this as a best of 3 list. Alth got to number 2 Mythic with this in best of 3, but it seems reasonable in best of 1 as well. So this deck here is more of a land destruction variant. So we see Stone Rain, we see Sowing Mycospawn, and we see World Breaker all within the deck. Very strong. Just blow up your opponent's lands. We also see Torpor Orb, which just incidentally shuts off a lot of decks. Energy, a lot of the kind of persist combos. Anything that has enter the battlefield effects, you shut them out that way there. It That Betrays helps you ramp into your big stuff as well. This version here, you have like your basics, you have Ghost Quarter, Grove of the Burn Willows, another land. So this one here is kind of like your Pain land, but gives you the upside that you don't really care about your opponent gaining life because you're going to be attacking for like 5-10 damage at a time. 1 life isn't a huge kind of edge case, and this one doesn't hurt you, which is a little bit better. So that would be that version there. So that's the Eldrazi corner. Thanks for tuning into the Church of the Flying Spaghetti Monster. And now we'll go on to our regular scheduled. So Boros Auras, stock, we're going to feature it because it's here, 73%. Nothing's really changed this week with it. Again, as I always mention, the flex spot in these decks is Amped Raptor versus Hushbringer. With the increase in the number of Gruul, like the number of Eldrazi decks, Enter the Battlefield isn't as relevant because Eldrazi is a cast trigger. So moving to the Amped Raptor now makes a little bit more sense because it provides more card advantage in that effect. Whereas when energy is more popular, SAM combo, anything with ETBs or death triggers, then the Hushbringer's a little bit more effective. We have mono black Sacrifice. So this is the Jet Medallion Jets kind of Storm deck. One thing I'll say off the bat, this deck could definitely play Sephiroth. I've run into people playing Sephiroth in it, and I think it fits the deck beautifully, because right now, basically what you do with this deck is with Shambling Ghast or Greedy Freebooter, any two of these with a Jet Medallion out and Cthulhian Nightmare basically creates an infinite loop where you can sack and bring back creatures over and over and over again, and then just keep recasting. With Marionette Apprentice, you drain out your opponent, but with Sephiroth, you can also do it. And I think it's just more redundancy in that case. Priest of Gix also allows you to create loops where you can just kind of go through your deck and just kind of keep casting them over and over again with the Nightmares out. The rest of the deck is kind of assembling the combo. Diabolic Intent, Mausoleum Secrets, Citrus Supplier helps you mill into it as well. Phyrexian Tower gives you extra mana, which plays nice. Castle for some card advantage. Chittering Skull Speaker as some more card advantage as well. We go to Sorin combo, so 66%. This was the highest of the various Sorin combos. The Gen 1 kind of fell off a bit. But this deck here, you have Sorin into Alenda, which is kind of the big play. This one's also got Olivia and Vein Ripper as more redundancy, because you're self-milling with things like Malavant Rumble. The Olivia can bring back some of your key creatures, along with Overlord kind of milling you into that. The Overlord can help you pick up Witch Enchanter or Bogart Trawler, which are creatures and lands at the same time. Then you have the backup plan of Emperor to reanimate stuff, including like Troll of Khazad-dûm, which you could go like turn 1 this, turn 2 Emperor, turn 3 get this out. Dedicated Dollmaker can blink Overlord, so you get the value there. Can blink the Oath of Nissa, which is card advantage. Then you have 6 pieces of discard, as well as Fragment Reality. This one's on Mana Confluence, which got cool new art. I like this art on this one. So here's this Boros Energy deck. So this one is 63%, and we're seeing access to White Orchard Phantom. So just comes in, destroys up to 1 target non-basic land, and then so it's basically like Ghost Quarter on a creature. This one's got Felia that you can blink it over and over again. You also have Cleansing Wildfire. So again, just built to try to blow up Eldrazi lands. We see fewer copies of Voice of Victory. I love Thraben Charm in Best of 1. Just does everything you want as a modular card. And then it's kind of packed with your regular Goblin Bombardment, Amtraptor, Johnny Ossett's Pride. I'd probably switch these 2 numbers, 3 Goblin Bombardments, 4 Amtraptors, just given that you usually don't want the second copy, and having Amtraptor kind of digs you into that. I will say the one thing with this version is the curve's a little heavy on 2s. You have Static Prisons, Galvanic Discharges here, Guide of Souls. You may want Esper Sentinel just as another tax style effect, trimming on some of the... You probably don't need the Wildfires if you're playing White Orchard. It's a little overkill, but I like the general idea of what this is trying to accomplish. I will say 4 Prismatic Vista, 4 basics might be a little uneven, just because if you draw one of these, this could become dead. I usually don't like playing that ratio, but you can just play more Inspiring Advantages over it, I think, and also save Mythic wildcards. So Izzet Affinity, Izzet Thopters. So this got some new cards. So Pinnacle Emissary is the one that's showing up in Modern, Legacy, probably even Vintage. I could see this just with like the Moxes, but this really likes having 0 cost or 1 cost artifacts. So you can warp it in for 1 mana, and then whenever you cast an artifact, you get a 1/1 drone artifact that can... So there's another way to make like Thopter-esque creatures that aren't Thopters. So playing that, you then just like Mox Amber, Ornithopter, Tormod's Crypt, all ways to kind of give you extra tokens that allow you to cap a Cannoneer cheaper. So cheat that in earlier. You also have Tezzeret Cruel Captain, which is... didn't realize how much this is putting up stats in like Eternal formats, but so whenever an artifact enters, you get to put a counter or a loyalty on Tezzeret. So you can cast this for 3 mana and then potentially ultimate it the same turn with your 0 drops, or just ways to make various artifacts. And then its ultimate is you get an emblem at the beginning of your combat, put 3 counters on target artifact, and then it animates it if it's not an artifact. You can tutor, or you can just animate artifacts as creatures as well. You have your Tamiyo Emery package with your cheap drops. You have Retrofitter Foundry Ornithopter, and then Thought Monitor refills your hand as well. We have Temur Devotion or Temur Battlecrier. Someone's standard deck has been souped up for the historic format. So this one plays different than standard. You're not going with like big chunkers. It is an infinite combo. So how this works is Temur Battlecrier gives you cost reduction on spells you cast based on the number of 4-power creatures. Combination of things like Outcaster Trailblazer, Temur Battlecrier, Phyrexian Metamorph can copy these, so it gives you some cost reduction. You'd effectively make it so your stuff costs 0 mana. Karn then goes and gets Guardians of Kolios. So first Guardian comes in and it will bounce Karn to your hand. You cast Karn again, you get the second Guardian. The Guardians then loop each other where they just pick each other up infinitely and then draw through in that case there. So you just keep casting it over and over again. And then eventually, once you build up the requisite storm, you pick up the Karn. And then with Karn, you go and get Aetherflux Reservoir, you cast another spell, and you basically fireball them to death. One thing you have to be mindful of, Trailblazer and Kiora will draw you cards. So when you're doing the loop, you can potentially draw yourself out of the deck. Subsequently, there's Ancestral Statue that's 4 mana, which might be better in the combo loops. You also have Green Sun Zenith, which now can allow you, this one's hard to read, but you search your library for a green creature card with mana X or less, and you put it into the battlefield. So X4, or X3, sorry, green and X. So X3 goes and gets you Temur Battlecrier, or whatever combo piece you're missing in that regard. And then we have, okay, I don't recommend crafting this, but if you have the cards, if you want to play it, I cannot endorse it, but it is for you to see that it exists. This is likely not something that you're going to get high rank with, but it is Slivers Tribal. First Sliver gives every Sliver Cascade. Sliver Hide Lord gives them indestructible. +2, double strike, pings. Gives you card advantage off the top of your library. Honorary Sliver, Spiteful Sliver, deals damage. So it's like Boros Reckoner style. This one here, whenever it deals combat damage, you put counters on it. Vigilance, mana left is card advantage. Just a whole bunch of kind of synergy stuff. Got a whole bunch of duels, which plays really nice. Or I would just play more caverns over like starting towns. It's just kind of free value. One of each basic in here, because why not? And just really kind of take advantage of the color pairs. But this is one of those decks that hangs around platinum, but I like to share it every so often. Someone's living their best life. And then we have Izzet Wizards, 59%. So this one here, no Corey Steel in this particular version. Going a little bit more aggro. You have your Slick Shots, Balmor, Dreadhorde. Big card here is Swift Spear's Teaching. Creature gets Haste Prowess the next time you cast it. So, and you draw a card. Really strong line is Swift Spear's Teaching. Into turn 2, Arcanist gets to attack with it right away. You flash back the teachings, and then your next creature also gets it. Notably, Prowess the stack. So if you have multiple instances of Prowess, they get multiple triggers. Otherwise, it's your Reckless Charge, Play with Fire, 1 spell, Pierce main, Flame of Nor, Wizards, like usual kind of suspects. Usually in this deck, I like, I forget the name. It's the 2 mana that's blue card that if you control a wizard, you scry and draw a card, and then you get to double it if you control a wizard, so you get 2 card draws. The reason being is expressive. You have to kind of, you're kind of taxed to playing the card at that time, where this one here plays nicer because it's just card draw. That plays nicer in terms of your sequencing of stuff. But that is going to be it for the week. Let me know what you think of the format. If you're a fan of Eldrazi, if you're not, but we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching.